The summer movie season has come to a close, school has started back up, so it's time to stop and share my picks for my most anticipated movies for the rest of 2022. Hi, my name is Sean, and I love to talk about movies and TV way too much. With that in mind, go ahead and join me down below in the comment section. Share your most anticipated movies for the rest of 2022. One more thing before we get started, I have a companion video to this over on my Patreon page with 7 more of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's a membership site where if you like my channel, want more content, want more live streams, want to support out the channel, that's where you can do it. I do a weekly Q&A, I do a box office roundup, and I have a bunch of exclusive videos like the 7 more of my most anticipated movies for the rest of the year. If you're interested, the link is down below in the description, and let's get started. And these aren't necessarily in any particular order, but I probably will get more excited as we move towards the end of the video. Kicking things off, Halloween Ends. Now, this is a movie where my emotions, my feelings are kind of all over the place. On the one hand, Halloween, the original, is one of the great slasher films of all time, one of the great horror films of all time. I thought Halloween 2018 was a very nice way to continue the franchise, do one of these legacy sequels, reboot calls, whatever you want to call it. Halloween Kills, you know, I liked the Carnage candy. It seemed like they made all of the characters unbelievably stupid and Michael Myers way too powerful just so that they could have a trilogy of films and do one more movie after Halloween Kills.
I'm very disappointed.
In which case, I appreciate this one's called Halloween Ends. I know that the team behind this one can make a good Halloween movie. The trailer they put out was kind of generic. The synopsis they put out describing the movie sounded like a very weird direction to take the franchise and didn't resemble the trailer that they put out. So I don't know what to expect from this movie. I just know they can do good stuff. I appreciate that this is supposed to be such a definitive end that they actually put ends in the title. So I'm excited for it, but cautiously excited for it. Number 11, Barbarian. Now, this is a horror thriller about a girl who books an Airbnb. She shows up late only to discover it's been double booked and things aren't as they seem. It has Bill Skarsgård, Pennywise in it, and in general, I tend to enjoy horror films that are in like self-contained locations where someone's desperately trying to survive and escape. But more importantly, my inside man who sees movies very early, he gets into a lot of test screenings. In fact, he's one of the few people ever who can say, I have seen Batgirl. He has seen Barbarian. This is what he texted at me after watching the movie. I'm not sure if the movie Barbarian is on your radar, but I have seen it and you definitely should put it on your radar. Watch it with a packed audience. If you take Jennifer, it will be the best date ever for you and probably the worst date ever for her. And with that text, I am sold and plan to take my wife to go see this movie. Hopefully she won't watch this video, in which case she won't know the trap that she is walking into. Number 10, Violent Night. This is a Christmas movie starring David Harbour as Santa Claus. It's being produced by David Leitch. He's the guy that just directed Bullet Train. He did Deadpool 2. He's one of the secret directors of the original John Wick. And they haven't put out a trailer yet. They haven't put out a poster yet, even a still of this movie yet. This is the premise. A group of mercenaries attack the estate of a wealthy family on Christmas Eve, and Santa must save Christmas. I'm sold. I'm there opening night, very excited. David Harbour as Santa Claus battling mercenaries.
So good.
Next up, Babylon, the latest Damian Chazelle film set during the 1920s as Hollywood is shifting from silent films into talkies. It has a star-studded cast. You got Brad Pitt, Tobey Maguire, Margot Robbie, and Samara Weaving, where if they're not playing sisters, that's going to be really confusing because they look an awful lot alike. The general premise here isn't something I naturally gravitate towards, but Damian Chazelle is one of those directors who I'm always kind of paying attention to at this point in time. He directed Whiplash, La La Land, First Man. He just kind of has like this obsession with people that are obsessed with excellence and tells these stories in these different contexts about people just pursuing, trying to be their absolute best, and does very powerful films. Like, I wasn't crazy about First Man, but that doesn't hold back from the fact that he did something interesting with the film, and he's doing these amazing character studies with each of them. So has me excited for it. It's actually another one my inside man has seen.
Winning.
I can't wait to check it out. Should be another great film from him. Number 8, Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Like so many people, I grew up listening to Weird Al. At my age, I grew up having all of the cassette tapes and would play video games while listening to the latest Weird Al parodies. So when they announced that they're actually doing a Weird Al movie and Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, will be Weird Al, that's casting I never would have guessed. I never would have fan cast that, but kind of see it and I go, yeah, that's just weird enough that it's probably perfect for this particular project. Throw in Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna, who's someone that doesn't seem like she would naturally gravitate towards a project like this. So that kind of makes me even a bit more interested that she wanted to play Madonna in a project like this. And then Rainn Wilson as Dr. Demento. That should be a lot of fun. I don't know if the movie will be actually good, but I can't wait to see how weird it actually is.
I'm the weird one!
Then we have Strange World, the latest Disney animation film. It's a sci-fi adventure about people traveling off to a new land, and that sounds like it's right up my alley. I like sci-fi, I like adventure films. Disney historically has been a great studio, so want to check this one out. Now, I am a little bit nervous because I don't feel like Disney's had their best couple of years, and so they've had some things in there that have been strong, and Encanto being one of them, the last Disney animation film, but a lot of other things from Disney recently have been disappointing or not as good as they should have been, so that has me a little bit nervous, but at the same time, they have a very long track record of putting out solid family entertainment. This one's sci-fi. Should be my thing. Number 6, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. This is the follow-up to Knives Out, but not really a sequel to that film because it's not following the plot of that film. Instead, it's another mystery involving Daniel Craig's character, a new whodunit. I thought the first one was just a ton of fun with an amazing cast, a great whodunit. So having a modern day version of the whodunit, a new franchise, I am all for it. The cast for this thing is just absolutely stacked, just like the first one. And I think it's interesting that Ethan Hawke is in this, man. He's had quite the year. He's showing up in all kinds of things, from mainstream to indie darlings, almost all of them highly praised. So Ethan Hawke having quite the year. But yeah, I dug the first one. I'm totally down for another one. In 5th place, Disenchanted, the sequel to Enchanted, the essentially live action adaptation of a Disney princess story that they did, like 15 years ago with Amy Adams, where she's a animated Disney princess that finds herself in the real world, and then they play out the formula in the real world. I thought the first one was just absolutely delightful with some memorable songs. Amy Adams was absolutely perfect in the role. So the idea of coming back 15 years later and turning the formula on its head again, I could be down for it. Enough time has passed that you can actually have the characters in a new place where it feels earned to kind of do whatever deconstruction or whatever they're going to do to disenchant the story. I'm game for it. I certainly have a little bit of skepticism anytime they try to tear apart the classic formulas, the classic stories that people have loved forever. But I enjoyed the first one enough that I don't think that, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Sometimes Disney does some odd things, so hopefully they don't screw this up. Number 4, Black Adam, the latest film in the DCEU, and a movie that's been in development for years and years and years. They announced Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Black Adam so long ago that it's incredible that this movie is finally coming out. Now, I'm not expecting this to be one of the great comic book movies of all time or anything like that. I'm just expecting some comic book hijinks. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movies tend to kind of have a sameness to them. They play it safe with the formula. He likes to work with the same directors, so he brought in the guy that he just did Jungle Cruise with. I'm just expecting The Rock being able to do his thing as this anti-hero with these incredible powers, forced into being a hero by the end of the story. The director has done a lot of fairly forgettable films, but he actually has a little bit more spunk to his style, despite the scripts that he's chosen to turn into films. And so even that gives me a little bit more hope for this movie. You know, like I said, not expecting the next great comic book movie. This is another one that my inside man has seen.
Winning.
He said it was fun. Real quick, before I give you my final 3 picks, be sure to join me down below in the comment section. Let me know, what are your most anticipated films for the rest of the year? Also, remember, there is a companion video to this over on my Patreon page with 7 more of my most anticipated films for the rest of the year, plus much, much more. A weekly Q&A, a weekly box office live stream. If you enjoy my content and want more, consider checking out my Patreon page at the link down below in the description. In third place, The Fabelmans. This is the latest Steven Spielberg film. Steven Spielberg is my favorite director of all time, and it's semi-autobiographical. He worked on the script, and it's about a boy kind of growing up, a coming-of-age story, and it's about this child kind of learning the power of film while discovering secrets about his family. You had me at Steven Spielberg, but even the idea of kind of him telling this highly fictionalized version of his childhood, but capturing what film meant to him as a person, naturally, as someone that talks about movies for a living, that's interesting to me. Can't wait to check this one out. Next to last on here, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And of all the movies on this list, this is the one I'm the most curious about. This is the one I'm the most nervous about. This is the one that I have the most conflicted feelings about, because I thoroughly enjoyed the first Black Panther and what they did with that movie. I trust Ryan Coogler after the previous Black Panther film, after what he did with Creed. And then of course, they were dealt such a terrible hand in the tragic passing of Chadwick Boseman. And 2 years later, they haven't really said what their plan is to replace, move on with Black Panther. They've even put out a trailer that showed Black Panther as the final shot, and you still don't know who's in the suit. And naturally, that might tie into the plot of the film. That might be really important to what they're trying to do with it. But as that's like the central character and you don't know what it is, and when you do know the behind the scenes, all the struggles that they had to get this movie made, very reasonable to be like, man, I would feel a lot more confident if I understood better what you guys are doing to move forward. How you're kind of dealing with being dealt this terrible hand. The trailer they put out, it has the right tone. It captures the emotion that the audience has for this character, this franchise, in light of the history. Like, they knew that and they made the right trailer for it. But obviously, of all of these, if I could pick one of them to watch tomorrow, this is the one I'd want to watch tomorrow, because I'm so curious as to what they were able to do, what they came up with, where they're taking things. But coming in at number 1, Avatar: The Way of Water. Now, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that James Cameron is one of my absolute favorite directors of all time, who's directed a whole bunch of my favorite movies of all time, despite having made less than 10 films and having only put out 1 movie in the last 24 years.
Not impressed.
And so I actually am very resentful of the movie Avatar, because it stole James Cameron from us and caused him to go off to Pandora for a quarter of a century. And by the time he puts out all of his Avatar films, there will be a segment of time where he will have spent 30 years only making Avatar movies.
Not a great plan.
That's crazy to me. All of that said, this is our first new James Cameron movie in 13 years. Yes! This guy's track record right now, his last 2 movies went on to become the highest grossing movie of all time. That's his current track record. His track record with sequels is Aliens and Terminator 2, both of which I would say are better than the original, and the original to each of those films are already fantastic films. And both of those movies are in my top 5 favorite movies of all time. So, I have to weigh Avatar, I'm so resentful that you stole James Cameron from me, with, okay, his actual track record with his last 2 movies. He delivers crowd pleasers. He delivers movies people got to see in the theater. And his track record with the sequels is unprecedented. 2 movies that are better than fantastic movies. But it's still a new James Cameron movie, and his track record, it trumps whatever cynicism I have. So Avatar: The Way of Water comes in at number 1. If you enjoyed this video, remember there is a companion to it over on Patreon. Join at any level and you gain access to all the exclusive videos as well as the live streams. Right now I'm trying to do 2 live streams every week, one about the box office each weekend, and then one that's just a Q&A where I answer everyone's questions. If you're interested in my content, want to support the channel, the link's down below in the description, and keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye-bye.